Once again, the media gets in hot water with Republicans. Does the public care? The Speaker of the House unveils an alternative energy plan, and so who does it benefit? Hurricane Gustav goes political, and we'll break it down for you. And who won the PR battle between McCain and Obama this week in the presidential campaign? And we go unscripted. Last week, Joe Biden. This week, Sarah Palin. All this and more in this week's edition of News 9's Your Vote Counts. Wow. I mean, that's a pick nobody saw was coming. I mean, we really thought when we left here a week ago that it was going to be Kay Bailey Hutchinson, who had her family raised, has a lot of foreign policy experience, but and from Texas, and could have helped a lot of extra states. Can you explain to our viewers, Senator Sykes and for Randy this week, can you explain to our viewers why Sarah Palin?
Well, one of the big reasons is she's the only person of the either picks or the VP picks that's not a Beltway person. She's from outside the Beltway. She's a breath of fresh air. She brings new ideas, actual real change to the ticket, rather than just an insider from Washington. You know, she talked about last night that she is not a Washington insider, so the media doesn't feel that she's qualified. And that's exactly right. The media, if you're not a Washington insider, then you're not qualified. You haven't been through their scrutiny yet, and that's why they've rushed so quickly to scrutinize her and to talk about how unqualified she is and a bunch of other garbage. So, you know, here we are with the only person that has executive experience, that is knows the challenges of people that are raising children in today's society, and has executive experience. So I think the media's been quick to scrutinize her, and I think they're wrong in their scrutiny as she's the only person of the four that is from outside the Beltway.
Well, and the media got a little aggressive, because remember back in the Clinton years, you know, Bill would say, you're not talking about my daughter, okay? And people really got after it. There were some things, and there are some things about Governor Palin from Alaska that people ought to talk about, okay?
Absolutely.
But they really did kind of drive her into the conservatives' arms. Do you think the media was out of control on Governor Palin this week?
Absolutely not. You know, if you want to play in the big leagues, you know, you got to face the heat. And she comes flying out of the gate. You know, the Republicans talked about two issues. The fact that Obama doesn't have any experience. Well, that issue's off the table because she has absolutely none. You know, Mick Cornett and Frank Keating have more experience than she has. The second is about the speeches. When Obama was giving all of these speeches, they said, whoa, what a great speech maker he gets. On and on they go. And all of a sudden last night they wheeled this lady out. The Bush White House wrote it. So there you got experience and speech writing. Geez, two things that Obama's good at.
I think that was the Reagan speech writer. Those are the better speech than the Bush people could come up with. Let's turn to another topic this week, and we're going to talk about the hurricane in just a minute. But the fact is that the Speaker of the House has rolled out a plan dealing with compressed natural gas. Now, we've got the Pickens plan all over the networks. We've seen Chesapeake Energy go public with their plan talking about compressed natural gas. And we've already had our ethanol situation with good and bad results. The question is, do you see coming up in this session and down the road that compressed natural gas cars are going to be on the streets of the state within 2 or 3 years? And is the public sector, all the vehicles in the public sector, going to go forward with this compressed natural gas situation?
Well, the word I'm getting into Capitol is it's absolutely true. You know, there are two major gas companies in this town, and apparently they've been having lots of meetings with the Speaker of the House. And so the new idea is that we're going to convert all of the state vehicles to CNG. It's the same products that the two major gas companies produce. Well, one of the problems with that concept is that the conversion cost for each vehicle is around $10,000. I have a little bit better idea. Why don't we study the issue? Because my good friends, the Republicans, whenever there's a tough issue out there, they want to have a study. So let's study it first. But remember, in the year 2004, the House Republicans took over. Recently, there was an Ethics Commission report that came out that there was a bunch of funny money running around. And a lot of that funny money came from, guess what? Big corporations around the city of Oklahoma City. I don't know really what's going on out there, but if CNG is the answer, why don't we do this? Why don't we try first with school buses in the local communities? Because it's the local school boards that can't afford the high fuel costs that are driving education downward. Let's start with school buses.
That's an interesting concept, and the fact would be, I guess, more people use CNG, or more diesel and gasoline is going to be available. Do you see this as another alternative energy pipe dream, or is this going to be a real deal for Oklahoma?
Well, when you look at Oklahoma, we do have a great abundant resource in natural gas, so this is something we at least have a duty to explore, I think. So, the discussion about this is proper. I think there needs to be a discussion before there's action, and there's discussions going on right now, and that's the way it should be. As far as funny money goes, there's no more funny money than what comes out of injured workers' awards check that they don't even know they're donating. So the discussions about compressed natural gas, there was actually a bill last session on this subject. I think there's going to be more discussion about it this time, and I think it's something that we owe Oklahomans to discuss.
It's going to be interesting. You bring up that largest for working Oklahomans story that really gets kind of fizzled. Nobody really much cares about it. But it is going to be interesting to see how all these PACs work in the future. That's going to be an issue coming up. Hey, let's talk about a hurricane. We talked about last week that this hurricane was coming. We had one of the most interesting weeks I've ever been involved in, Obama's hugely anticipated speech. Friday, Senator McCain announces Sarah Palin just sucks the air out of the news cycle, right? And as we said on Saturday, things started turning to Gustav. Now, Gustav, we had the media talking about, we're going to have $200 barrel oil, and we're going to be in lines. I mean, they talked about this like it was Armageddon coming, right? And if it had been a disaster in New Orleans, then Barack Obama could have measured the White House drapes. Here's the situation, is oil went down in every reason it should have gone up. Do you think that there might have been some talk between this administration and the oil companies?
I don't think there was any talk. I think what you're seeing is lessons learned. Lessons learned in the public sector from the lessons of Katrina, where it was handled better, from the evacuations right down to the levees, and also in the private sector. The oil companies, in the private sector, if you don't correct mistakes, you get shown the door. So I think that they were much more prepared for this. Obviously, we've got more storms that are coming, so they were able to handle it better. Because in the private sector, you've got to do that. Otherwise, your bottom line's not going to be where it needs to be. So I think you're just seeing better management here. That's why there's been no spike in prices. And I know my colleague's going to get a big kick out of this. But at the same time, you've got to admit this was handled much better, and it was also anticipated. Many of the lessons learned, and that's why we didn't see the big spike.
Okay, and I got to tell you, when you saw these stories, listen, I got to tell you, you look at these, you see these pictures from New Orleans with those levees with that water lapping over, and you're watching this, and you're going, if that sucker breaks, Barack Obama is going to be the president.
Absolutely.
Right? Okay? And so, I know somebody walked up to the president and said, you can let your breath out now, Mr. President.
Right.
I mean, it was like this down there, wasn't it?
Absolutely. I've been in New Orleans recently, and those levees were the problem the first time around. Good job, Brownie. I mean, we didn't get any of that because Bobby Jindal of Louisiana obviously got the experiences from Katrina, and the R's were not going to make the mistakes they made back in 2005. Let's go back to the point that my colleague made about LWO. Let's talk about giving money, okay? We have major corporations downtown, all of them, that have employee PACs that are basically told to give to their PACs, and they have no idea where their money is going to. And by the way, there was an ethics report that came down last Friday that slammed the Oklahoma County Republican Party and ex-Speaker Cargill about some funny money that was going on.
And no
one said a word about it. Exactly.
Okay.
For you media types out there, you might want to look into that.
I got to tell you, man, next time I hear these ethics commission people going, we need more money to
right,
do what?
Exactly.
Okay.
Do what? They advocated their authority.
That goes across the board.
And here's the question I have on that, Scott and Senator. It was said that it was referred to law enforcement. Where? Is it at the Attorney General's office, or is it in David Prater's office? Where is it? I'm really interested in knowing.
I don't like secret investigations. I'm with you on that. Hey, let's turn real quick. We're running out of time in this segment. We talked, let's go back before the hurricane came in. We had this great convention for the Democrats. It was staged, and had Barack Obama coming out of the sky in front of this Roman temple, and he gives this really interesting speech. And then the very next day, McCain drops his Sarah Palin moment. Who won the PR battle? Now, after his speech, the polls came out. He got a big bump, right? But now we're going to see the polls in the next couple of days with the McCain bump, and it's going to happen. So the question is now that we're past Labor Day, who's winning the public relations battle? Let's start with you.
Well, right at the exact same moment, the Republicans are. I mean, the speech last night by Governor Palin was a good speech. It was well written, and it was well delivered by Governor Palin. I give her kudos for that. What they were doing was they were throwing red meat to the Republican base. My question to John McCain is, if you cannot get the Republican base this late in the game, there are some serious problems. I also have some question about his judgment. He told the American people several months ago that the number one qualification to have to be a vice president was experience and training in the area. Tom Ridge had all that experience. He was our first Homeland Director. So what does John McCain do? He throws a Hail Mary into the wind so that he can do two things. Secure the Republican base, hopefully he's got it by now, and try to get the Clinton supporters from Ohio, West Virginia, and Pennsylvania, thinking that those women who are conservative will align themselves with Palin. But as this campaign goes on and on and on, they are going to start questioning some of the motives of Governor Palin, primarily what decision-making she is having in her own personal family. Right now, the Republicans are winning, but this is 7 weeks to go. We'll see what happens.
And who's winning the PR battle?
I think we're winning right now. If you look at this was allegedly Barack Obama's election to lose, and so far he's taken it on the chin in the past week. I think his speech was overshadowed first by a news event with the hurricane, then by the Palin announcement, and then the Republican convention. I think Palin made a positive showing last night on the American people, and I think she's going to continue to do well as we get closer and closer to election. So I think we're winning at this point.
All right, so the convention's about to wrap up. We're going to talk about those and then Scripted coming right up. Both conventions at the same time. Man, that was good.